Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel Phantom Rider 698, and today we are going to be working on changing the shaft drive fluid in Shadow the motorcycle, a 2015 Honda Shadow Phantom. So like I said before, we're going to be changing the shaft drive fluid in Shadow the motorcycle, which is actually a very easy thing to do. Once you do it once, you'll know how to do it every time after that. So as long as you have a Honda Shadow Phantom, can't speak for other motorcycles of course, but for the Phantom, you do it once and you'll be able to do it 100 times after that if you need to. So today we're going to be using the shaft drive fluid, and this is the Honda brand of the shaft drive fluid that we'll use a good majority of what's in the bottle here to replace the fluid that's in there already. Okay guys, so here we are underneath Shadow the motorcycle, and what we're looking at here is the reservoir where the shaft drive fluid will go, and we're going to be removing two different bolts here. We're going to be removing the cap here, and this uses a 17 millimeter wrench with a, like I said, 17 millimeter socket or whatever you want to use, but this size is 17 millimeters. And down here, this is going to be a just your really basic hex key, and you can find the size hex key here. I'll look and see which size it is, and I'll let you know here. So the hex key size is going to be a 6, the number 6, and when you're removing these two bolts, what we're going to be removing here, which is going to drain the shaft drive fluid out into just your typical drain pan, and then also especially this guy right here, the cap that covers the reservoir. You always want to make sure you're careful with these. It's a very soft metal. I've actually busted this cap before because I torqued it too much. So we're going to take it off, and when we put it back on, we're going to really just more or less use very minimal force to put this thing on here, and we're not going to torque it too much, or else we run the chance of busting these two bolts right here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this guy, and it's just a very simple twist there. There it goes, and we're going to just use our fingers, get in there, and just use your fingers to unscrew it out, and there it goes. So now what we're going to do next is we're going to remove the cap here, and in order to do that you need just your typical 17 millimeter socket, very typical socket wrench. Put that right over the bolt there, and this shouldn't be torqued on there too tight. As you guys can see, it didn't take very much effort to get that off of there. Do not torque these on there too tight. They're very, like I said before, they're a very soft metal, and if you torque them on there too much, it's going to just disintegrate the bolt itself. So be careful doing that. So now we can actually just use our fingers and unscrew this bolt off of there. Take this off, and voila, there you go. Now that we have that piece off, we're going to go ahead and put this piece back on there, and we're going to cover up that drain plug port. Just tighten that on with our fingers, and once that's on there as tight as we can get it with our fingers, then we'll use the Allen wrench, sticking on there. That's it. That's all I'm going to torque it. We're not going any harder than that, and you don't want to go any harder than that with these two bolts that you see here. So next thing we do is we're going to fill this guy back up with the fresh shaft drive fluid, and I'll show you guys how to do that here real quick. Just put this drain plug cap back in for the shaft gear fluid, and now we're going to put new gear fluid into the reservoir here. So here's the cap. And once you remove the tiny little plastic cap that comes with it, you're going to have to use like a knife or scissors or something to actually cut the tip here. You're going to circumcise the tip there, and now we are going to just pour this in. And it's kind of awkward to pour this in. It is what it is, but once you get it in there, you can hear that you got to give it a little bit of pressure, and we are basically going to fill that in until we get to the top of the threads here. So that's what I'm going to work on here, and I will come back here in just a second when I got this thing filled up. Okay, now we got it filled up. As you can see, there's a little bit dripping out now, but that is exactly what we want. We wanted to get flush to where the threads begin on the bottom of the cap, where the cap would fit here, which is exactly what it's doing. So now we're going to go ahead and put the cap back on. We're full. We got fresh fluid in there. And again, this is not too difficult. All you're going to do is you're just going to hand tighten this thing back on there. Fits on very nicely. And once we've gone about as far as we can with that, I like to give it just a little bit of an extra torque with the wrench, if we're going in the right direction with the wrench. And we're not going to torque too much. Right about there, that's it. So as you can see, I didn't really put a lot of effort into torquing that thing back on there. As long as it's on there snug and you're not leaking at any of the 2 points here, then you're going to be fine. And you got new shaft fluid in there. Very simple, very easy process. Anybody can do it. Once you see it done once, you're good to go to do it however many times you have to do it after that. And just for your guys' review, this is what the shaft drive fluid, the gear oil, looked like prior to or after I had drained it from the from Shadow the motorcycle. And just going to give you guys some perspective. This honestly doesn't look terrible at all. I don't see any kind of like sediment or metallic flakes in there. Maybe just a little bit on this side here, and that could be from just the old oil from the oil pan itself. A few bubbles right in this spot here. Otherwise this looks pretty clean. If your gear oil starts to kind of take on that traditional like darker color of oil, then you know you've exhausted your gear oil and you need to replace it. And like I said, I replace the gear oil probably once every year or so. Once every 10,000 miles, I think, is probably the most appropriate thing to do. I've heard some people say once every 20,000 miles. I've heard some people say once or twice a year. Everybody's different how often they change this, and honestly, it's not really too hard to change this stuff. So change it your own will. If you want to do it twice a year, once every 10,000 miles. I just happen to ride a lot in the summer months, and I take a lot of long trips, as you guys know, so I do it at least once a year. And that's honestly it for today, you guys. There's not a whole lot more to show you about the gear oil, changing that shaft fluid. It's important for the gears of the motorcycle to make sure that that fluid's clean at all times, and like I said, once a year I do it. So you can choose how often you want to do it. My advice is to do your research on whatever motorcycle you have, but for the motorcycle that I have, Shadow, the 2015 Honda Shadow Phantom, once a year is good. And I prefer, as you guys know, to use the name brand of Honda. I know there's a bunch of different other brands out there that you can use. I'm sure they're good. I just prefer to stick with the name brand. So if you guys like the video, hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. If you have any advice to add on to this video, please feel free to do so in the comments section. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.